everyone. Welcome to the Catching Up with Cope podcast. Cope is the Coalition of Parents in Esports, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides programs and scholarships to empower youth, parents, and educators to utilize gaming to build confidence, curiosity, community, and careers. I'm your host, Friday, and today I am here with Lexi. Lexi,
hi
guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm literally so excited to dive into everything with you. But before we get into it, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the space.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Lexi and I run the social media for the Northwood Esports program, and I also am an intern at Elgato. I've been in the esports scene for a few years now, but I just recently got into collegiate and it's been such a fun time. So I do a lot of content creation and social media and community management.
Awesome. Literally so cool. It's like that's an entirely different realm than I'm in. I'm not a social I'm very honest with people where I'm like, I am learning so much about social media from other people because I just stepped into the space and all of a sudden it's like a world that I didn't even know existed. So I do want to get into that. But to sort of start off, I kind of want to ask how you got into the content creation space and where you started your career and what that looked like for you.
That's so funny because content creation specifically, I can't pinpoint a specific point kind of where I started, just because I've always been making videos. When I was younger, in my earlier teen years, preteen years, my mom had a little Samsung phone and I would make videos all the time and just post them to her Facebook. And they would be little skits of me interviewing my baby brother and just things like that. So I've just always been posting, and then I downloaded things. I'm gonna age myself, but I would post to Vine and Musically and that's where it started, kind of was on Musically, and I fell in love with short form content. And then it transitioned to TikTok and everybody started using it. And that's where I kind of blew up. So then I started growing my Twitch and my YouTube and all those other platforms. And now here I am.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I know you are a Just Dance fan. And
yes.
I, as a fellow Just Dance fan, that's, I don't hear people talk about it they're like, oh yeah, I played Just Dance when I was younger. I still will play Just Dance to this day. It's it's a staple game. How did that come about for you? Because I know you do, sometimes you'll post dancing content that's not Just Dance specific. Where is that? How does that play into your content? Where did that come from? What's the mix between that and your content?
I stumbled into it because I've always, I was in competitive dance for a number of years, and I was competitive cheerleader, and I was always playing Just Dance as a form of exercise and just fun. And then one day I was on TikTok and I wanted to live stream, and I was like, what would happen if I live stream just me playing Just Dance on my Wii? Because I want to show the people that's genuinely what I do in my spare time. Yeah. So I just put my phone behind me and was playing, and then I started working with Elgato and they had all these capture cards, and I was like, what if I use my capture card to stream to TikTok Live Studio? And then it just blew up, started being a thing people recognize me for, you're the Just Dance streamer. So then I started doing it all the time because it's I'm already doing this in my spare time, so why not just continue doing it live? So that's kind of how that came about.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I really like that because I keep telling people if I was ever to make keep doing the whole streaming thing, it would be, I would need to make some sort of Just Dance content because that's just a part of me that I love. Can you speak to the importance of creating content that you enjoy and what that's like when, maybe you're not creating content that you enjoy, and being able to focus on, the things that you're passionate about? Because I think some people are afraid to put out the content they want because they're worried that their viewers aren't going to, receive that.
No, I understand that.
Yeah. I think there's an importance to it. And have you found yourself being, I guess, more freed when it comes to streaming and stuff like that because you are following what you want to do?
Yeah, I would say so. I definitely know what it feels like to feel stuck in a niche, because when I first started my gaming content creation, that's what people would know me for. People knew me from making R6 content. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I felt man, if these people expect that from me, I don't really want to branch into other stuff. But then I just started doing it because I love dance, I love cosplay. So I just started making more videos about that. And I found that my community actually can relate to me more because, we're all people. We all have more than just one interest. So if someone else is also interested in gaming and dance at the same time, they're going to be like, oh, that's super cool. you know?
True, very true. And you mentioned cosplaying. So like,
Yeah.
where did that start for you? Because that's so I love like one of like the areas of TikTok that I'm on is like cosplay TikTok, and it's like I've really never like I never saw myself as like someone who would be watching that sort of content, but like I'm obsessed with it. Like there are some of my favorite
So
creators.
good.
Some of my favorite creators are cosplayers, and I just like especially like during COVID, like that was like one of my things was looking up like cosplaying content. So like how did that start for you, and like what what is it like for you? What's your process of becoming a character?
That is credit I have to give to my little sister because I started like watching anime when I was younger, but it was mostly like Pokemon and Bleach
Yeah.
and like here and there. But then around COVID time, my little sister started watching a ton of anime, and I think she started with My Hero Academia and like Ouran High School Host Club and all those different animes. And she was really into cosplay, and I was like, that would be really cool. I kind of want to try that. So then I cosplayed Ella from Rainbow Six Siege, and that was my first ever cosplay.
Or
And then I was
yeah.
just like, this is cool. I can dress up as whoever I want. But now it's like a professional thing. When I get into a character every day, I have to like slot out hours of time, and I'm setting up my lighting and I'm putting on makeup and wigs, and it's a whole routine that genuinely takes so long, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, no, it always seems super cool. And I think something something I wanted to ask you, do you ever like stumble upon what is it like for you to find inspiration? Because sometimes I stumble upon like random audios on TikTok and I'm like, oh, that would be
Yep.
so good for like this character. Like, is that something that like you put into your process of creating this
Yes.
sort of content? Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
It's genuinely, you kind of have to be a little chronically online and kind of know the trends day by day, anyways. But it can be helpful to go on Pinterest and create a mood board so that you understand what poses you want to do if you're taking pictures. And then if you're making short form videos, genuinely just take an hour of time and just scroll and just start looking at trending audios, or even look up the anime or the video game you're cosplaying from and look at voice lines and different things people are doing with the medium. So then you can be like, okay, that would be cool if I did this.
Yeah, I've never thought about the like planning out what poses you're gonna do. Like
Yeah, it's
that's
helpful.
because I feel like I've used like Pinterest boards and mood boards like for various reasons to like create aesthetics in my brain for things, but I never thought about like how that could be used to literally like plan out to a T like what you want to see from your content. I feel that is I'm writing that one down after this. Gonna rewatch
Yeah, I
this
mean,
podcast. I'm like,
write that down.
no, that's great. And something that you had talked about was the trends. Um,
Yeah.
following the trends and being online. That kind of wants. I kind of want to get into the work you do with social media. How did you find was social media something you wanted to focus on like as you started becoming a content creator, or was that something that you sort of like found that you were interested in after you had been kind of immersed in the space a bit more?
It's something I found out after because content creation was my first job. I blew up when I was like 15, 16 years old,
Yeah.
and then I started making money from it. But then when I started thinking about college and other things I wanted to do, I was like, I really like social media, so I want that to be my job. So then I started looking into different things, and I found out you could be like a manager of like a other company's social media. And I was like, I'm good at social media, so I'm going to pursue that. So that's what I decided to do. And especially when going to Northwood, that's something I specifically was like, I want to manage your esports program socials. And the director, Cody, at the time was like, okay, here's the Twitter. Like,
Yeah.
have at it.
No, that's awesome. And so I want to sort of so that like kind of leads me into like you're still at Northwood, correct?
Yeah.
Like, are you still a student there?
Yes.
Okay. So can I ask like a little bit about your major? Do you feel
Of
like
course.
is it something that applies to social media, or is it like something that's a bit
Yeah,
different
so
on the
I
outside?
major in marketing and I minor in esports management, which is something I know is kind of unique to Northwood, which is really cool. I decided against digital marketing because I did want a major that's a little bit more common or generic, but
Mm-hmm.
we talk about managing socials all the time in a lot of my marketing classes, so it works perfectly.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so I can imagine that a lot of things that you learn can be applied to what you do at
Yes.
Northwood. But like, what is that? What has it been like running a social media for a collegiate or like esports organization? Like, obviously, as someone who's also part of collegiate esports, but at the club level and less so a program level, what does it look like for you? What are the inner workings? I would say you don't have to give us like any secrets, but like, What does that look like for you?
The inner workings is kind of a mix of things. What I love the most about working in collegiate is genuinely it feels like a community. And I didn't go to nearly as many lands before I started working in collegiate, which is really fun. You'll go to big lands like CECC, or you'll go to like the smaller lands where it's just like one
Yeah.
game competing. And I think it's cool either way. You meet so many cool people. The inner workings of a big program like Northwood, it might surprise you guys to know that for the longest time, it's only me running the
Oh my,
socials. Um, yeah, I
whoa.
that's what it started out to be. And then I asked my now director Jacob if we could make this Discord server of students who are interested in graphic design and video editing. So now I'm kind of building a team of students that run the social media. So any graphics that you see that's made by a student or a post made by a student, videos. So it's genuinely just a project kind of that I created where it's like we should have a social media team.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so the inner workings is genuinely just a bunch of students behind the scenes who are really passionate about the program, about esports, about social media, and we're just all working together.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. As someone who really values the space because of what you're talking about with community, I think that's like so cool, and it seems like you're building a support system too. Like it's a community, but it's also people who are there specifically like to support each other and like creating
Yeah.
that sort of like judgment free environment of like being able to like try things and like have someone who's like, oh, let me help, like here's how we might do this. Like that's really important because I think a lot of people might just get like thrown into the deep end and not really know what's going on. And so being able to have that guidance is so important. And I want to ask you, how do you feel like you've seen the collegiate like esports space change? Because I feel like I've seen it like drastically shift to this community that I had no idea like
Yeah,
people
it's
were taking
kind of
notice
weird.
of.
I'm relatively new to collegiate still because I'm a sophomore at Northwood.
You're a
So
sophomore.
when I
I didn't even.
started, I know when I
Bro.
started, it was like this big mysterious thing, like collegiate esports, and it felt like kind of separated. Like I
Yeah.
started working in the regular esports industry before moving
Yeah.
to collegiate, which is kind of unique. So it just seemed hard to get in. I didn't know who to talk to, what to do. And then now that you're immersed in it and you understand the concept of the community and what people think about collegiate, it's so much easier now to understand
Yeah.
the culture.
That's something that I've
But it's
talked.
changed a lot.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people about that. How they're like, oh, I wish like these opportunities were there. I wish, because it's like right now is really when a lot of the foundation's really being cemented. And so the fact that you said
I
you're a
agree.
sophomore, my goodness, my goodness. Because I've seen it change like over the past like, because I'm in my senior year, like 3-4 years now.
Right.
But to approach the space having already kind of been in like what people consider to be just like the regular like professional industry is something that we see a lot with like players, I think, but we don't typically see it from a lot of, people who have been immersed in the creator streamer space for a while and like, and specifically with like an emphasis on playing esports like R6 and things like
Yeah.
that. Like it's really interesting that you kind of came from that sort of angle, but you recognize that there is this whole world here that is existing and you're seeing
It's
it
like a secret world. Like,
it like literally is. And so I think it's awesome that you're really trying to build up like a social media team because I think more and more we're probably going to see things like that, at the collegiate level. And instead of it being one person, there's going to be a whole team. And so I think you're helping to shape that narrative and lead that path,
yeah.
which I think is awesome. So
Thank
mad
you.
props to you. And so I kind of want to go a little bit back to content creation and talk about you are an alumni from the Creator U 2023
Yes.
cohort.
Rep.
Okay, so do talk about
Do
that.
tell.
You had to submit like a video,
Yeah.
like a video what's it called, application. You talked about you and your and what you do. So like give me the deets. Tell me all about how was
The
that?
deets?
What was that like?
Oh my goodness. It was genuine. Like, I don't even say this lightly, but that was genuinely one of the best experiences of my life. What I was doing one day is I was just scrolling Twitter and I saw Creator U apps open up, and I had saw kind of Creator U their first year because I was only the second year they ever ran, so I kind of saw some stuff from
Wow.
the first year,
Yeah.
and it was kind of an impulsive decision to make a video. So then I did, and I think it has so many impressions on Twitter now, which is really really cool that that many people saw my application video. But
Yeah.
to be chosen for that was amazing. We flew out to Vegas for TwitchCon and I learned so much about networking, and it's kind of like an Easter egg, but I met so many people from the industry, people at Corsair, HyperX. I met a woman from Beast Coast, the social media manager, I'm pretty sure. And now I work for Elgato.
Yeah.
Like brands that we were introduced to when I was a Creator U student, I now work for. So that just shows how much value there is when you run these kind of programs. And specifically for collegiate, I feel like there's a lot of value we can get from taking students and giving them the resources and the opportunities that they need so that they can grow, meet people in the industry, and then their career will just skyrocket after that.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is those pathways that are created from programs like this and being a
Yeah.
student and opening those opportunities. Um, and can you speak to the importance of a space like that with like other creators being, because it just seemed like everybody was so supportive of each other in an industry where it's like people are playing a numbers game constantly, and it just feels like every year the love and support that I see during like the Twitch announcements for who's made the top 25, like everyone's just so like everyone's so supportive of each other. Like, can you speak to an importance of like that sort of space and being with other creators where it's like you're trying to like you uplift each other, you're not like trying to compete
Right.
with each other.
Yeah, this is kind of like the nitty gritty details because while we were at TwitchCon Las Vegas, there was a time in the night where we all had just met each other. And at first it was kind of awkward. Like, we do the same thing. We're all content creators, but we don't really know each other. And we only have a few days together. So we need to start being friends and fast, kind of. And it was awkward. But we had this really awesome heart to heart that night. And I think we stayed up till like 3 a.m. just all talking about our experiences. And
Yeah.
it was incredibly important. It helped us relate to each other. It helped us learn a lot about each other and content creation because there's specific things you experience as a content creator
Mhm.
that other people just kind of don't. I mean, we even touched on serious topics like doxing and how to handle
Yeah.
negativity. And I think that if you don't have people who can relate to those struggles, it can be hard
Mhm.
to know how to handle them. So I think it's incredibly important to specifically have that kind of support and then have other people around you acknowledge, like, hey, yeah, these are kind of struggles we don't talk about a lot because what we do is a dream for so many people.
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think some of the topics it sounds like you were talking about are, really important to talk about. And
Yeah.
it can be very isolating when you feel like there aren't many other people who have experienced that sort of thing. And so it seems like, being in that environment where you could share that, like just being able to talk about that with someone else who's like, I get it, like can change everything.
Yeah,
And
100%.
sometimes it can be hard to do that in this space because it is so, sometimes we feel like we're walking on eggshells because we just like don't know like what, there is no like
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
of what like really what the culture is, what the etiquette is with this sort of stuff, because it's constantly like changing and people are constantly coming in and going out and all those sorts of things. So I think it's great that you were able to cultivate that sort of environment. And then I want to follow up with, you talked about meeting brands and being able to work with Elgato. So you were an intern with Elgato, correct? And it was social
Yeah, and I
media?
still am now.
Oh, you
Yeah.
was it a summer internship going into like, was it like a summer specific
Yeah,
one
I
that went
mean,
into the
it was summer specific, and then at the end they were like, "Hey, we love you. Do you want to keep going?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yes,
Yes.
of course.
So
I love Elgato."
you did social media work, correct?
Yeah, as a social media intern.
Awesome. So like, what was that experience like? You worked at their like one of their offices, right?
Yeah, this was insane of me, but I took the chance and applied. I live in Michigan and I know nothing about California. I know nothing about the Bay Area, but when they gave me the job offer and they're like, "Yeah, but you have to move out to California for the summer." I was like, packing my bags.
Yep.
I'm going. I knew nothing about the area where I should be, where I should avoid, but I figured it out real quick. It made me very resourceful
There
to
you
just
go.
completely move across the country. But the experience itself was like irreplaceable. I learned so
Yeah.
many things working for Elgato, working in the office, and like huge shout out to like everybody on the team, Phil, Brito, Jasmine, Chris, every single one of them each taught me so many important lessons, and my fellow interns as well. Working in the office gives you this kind of culture that you don't really understand until you're there, and also that
Mhm.
hands-on experience is perfect, especially like college students. If you're not getting an internship somewhere, even like esports students that don't realize that there's internships, try to find one anywhere, because I think I learned so much and it made me a way better social media manager than what I was before.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things, I think, I mean, so gosh, I like am the audience for this podcast. Like this whole I am like the target audience, because something I didn't know when I used to be a musical theater major was like internships was never something that was talked about for me, because
Mhm.
my entire track was like, oh, you're going to just be auditioning for summer shows, right? So all of a sudden I
Right.
step out of that and I'm trying to get into this industry, and all of a sudden people are talking about internships and I'm like,
You're like, huh?
what? I'm like,
Where?
hello? But the importance of them, and even internships that don't seem technically like specific to esports and gaming, still can get applied to your work in esports and gaming. Like you don't have to necessarily
Yeah.
be interning at an esports org to gain experience that's going to help you if that's where you want to get to one day. And so I think like even that in-person aspect and the culture of being in like a space is so important, with a lot of things being remote these days. I think is awesome. But I love that you actually like went to the office and like got to, and, like,
Yeah.
to connect with the other interns there. And then you were even, and you learned so many things and gained real like hands-on experience. Do you feel like that environment was, just as much beneficial to like your learning? Were you applying things you learned, or was it like all entirely things that you were learning for the first time?
Honestly, it's kind of funny because it was a little bit of both. Like when I got there, it was more okay, I'm learning things, but then my manager started telling me, you're learning incredibly fast. So we're just gonna let you be independent on this, and if there's projects you want to work on, which shout out to the culture at Elgato and Corsair, because it truly just did feel like if you're an intern, you have an idea, you can voice it and you can go for it. So I started implementing little bits of esports into Elgato content, because everywhere I looked, I was like, that would be cool for an esports broadcast. That would be cool for game observers. So I would bring that up, and not a lot of people, I guess, worked in esports at Elgato. Some people knew of it. So it was kind of a new territory, and it felt really cool that I was able to explore that within my internship, so I could teach them some things while they were also teaching me things in return.
No, I think that's awesome, and exactly like what an internship should be and what people should look for
Yeah.
in an internship, because I think that's the sort of culture that I would appreciate. And it's like I know, I can tell like your mind, like you are a creative at heart. Like this is like sort of stuff that I'm like, I literally just love listening to people who just have so many different ideas for things, and it's like a whole new world that you're able to bring to the team that maybe they've never, and that's why a lot of, I mean, like today when people are hiring people, like it's really all, it's like a lot of it's like their brain. It's what they come up
We
with.
want your brain.
No, like literally. And so I think it's so cool that you were able to not only, learn from them, but bring new things to the table that like they haven't heard about. And now you're able to run with your ideas, and that's the culture that's been created there. And I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. Still on the lines of like content creation, but like you were a Broadcast Her Academy winner.
Yes, I was. That was also an amazing experience. Honestly, okay, guys, if there's one tip I have to give anyone is if you just need to have Twitter, because Creator U, Elgato internship, Broadcast Her winner, all of those opportunities came from Twitter.
Thank you. Yes.
You need to have Twitter.
Yes, I literally preach that, because Twitter's changed my life. I was like living in like darkness, and not that Twitter's the light or anything, because
No, it's
like,
not.
right, but like it opened my eyes to a world that I didn't know existed. And I literally talk about this to so many people that at this point they're probably so tired of me saying it, but I'm so glad you bring
But
that
it's
up because
true.
it's so true. It's one of those spaces that like you put yourself out, you know, it's another space to put yourself out there and there's like people who will see you on that platform.
It's a platform that's like about connecting and about communicating directly
Yeah,
with people, and it's showed me opportunities I didn't even know existed. So
exactly. Exactly. And so tell me about being a Broadcaster Academy winner. What was that like? What was that like for you?
yeah, oh my goodness, that was back in 2022, which doesn't seem like a long time ago, but it kind of is because
Oh
that's when
yeah.
I kind of first started my esports career a little bit. I started back in 2021, but it was kind of I was more sheltered, and the
Hmm.
being a broadcaster, like having that fellowship, it gave me so much confidence because before I was like I feel like I don't know anything and I don't want to be too loud in the space, or I was just really worried about perception. And when I was chosen for that and I went out to Vegas again and I got to tour the HyperX Arena, talk to so many cool people and other like-minded people like me who created content and wanted to be involved in esports and who were women in the space specifically, it gave me so much confidence and it helped me realize that I do have value and I should make space for myself. Like I shouldn't be quiet. I should be loud. If I have ideas, I'm going to bring
Yes.
it up. Like that was really the foundation that led to so many other opportunities just because it helped build my confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the scariest one of the scariest things and hardest things to learn is the acceptance of like this is a space that I have value in and that like you know what I'm saying because I think
Yes.
it can literally be so scary when you're like I mean that imposter syndrome too when you're like oh I'm not
Yep.
good enough I'm not this like that can be so scary and part of the reason I love like this podcast I love the fact that you're here talking to me about this is because you are just another example for younger folks younger women other marginalized gender like people to see you and be like oh I can do that too and I think that's like incredibly important for them to see that and to know of all these different areas that you've been a part of and these paths and places that you've been in your journey I think is all like it's so telling that that you put in so much time and effort into what you do and you're following what you're passionate about and you were able to realize that this is a space for you right and you were like I'm gonna make
Yeah.
space I'm gonna be loud I'm gonna and so I think that's incredibly important it seems like it was a wonderful opportunity like
Yeah.
so
Thank you
cool
so much. I
um
think it was really the realization too that if I'm not loud, like I don't know, I had this realization within the last year that I'm now the representation for the girls who were my age when I wanted to get into esports. And that
yeah
has kind of made me realize a lot of things about my career. And that's also why I'm doing more stuff like doing podcasts and going out and
yeah
just talking, because I'm like, if I'm the representation, I want to make sure that I'm seen.
hmm I completely hear you and you know, I think when it comes to representation, I've had this conversation with a couple people. It's like, I'm not, I'm obviously not like representing everybody, right?
Right.
Like as a bisexual white woman, like I'm not representing it obviously of everybody. Um, and there's definitely absolutely more room that needs to be made for way more people.
Right.
But like for the opportunities that I am given, I'm going to take them and I'm going to say that
Exactly.
like there are still I'm like if there's a group of people that could be more diverse and representative of the industry, then we're gonna voice that.
Yeah. Let's
And
work
it's
on
been
that.
voiced, right? And so no, but I completely hear you. It's because like and like for me, I think there's still that level of imposter syndrome when it's like thinking of some of the things that I've done, but it's like things that have been done in the past I'm not currently doing. It's like if sometimes it feels weird where I'm like, oh yeah, I did that, but like I'm not doing that right now. So like I guess like I'm like, do I really like should I really speak on this podcast or should I really do this interview? Like that's like you know what I'm saying? But it's like those are still
Yes, you
things that I
should.
did. Those are still things that I did. And those are still things you know what I'm saying? And the things that have come from that still exist. So you know what?
Right.
Like we're gonna live in that and we're gonna, um
I
that's
agree.
definitely been a big thing and so I'm really glad you mentioned that and you talked about it and I almost want to go back a little bit to something you previously said about being a content creator what is something important to being a content creator that like is important or something that others may not know? And you had talked about, doxing and that sort of stuff. That could be the answer. But if there's things that you think is important to what you do or something that others don't know that like should know.
I think it's incredibly important as a content creator to not get so caught up on number one, things always being perfect or just always thinking of the perfect video or the perfect angle. Because for me, that's how it used to be. And it really prevented my growth. So when I started posting just more and it's like, should I really post that? Yes, you should. If you're even asking that question, whatever. I mean, don't take that advice for everything you post, but I'm just saying for the most part, if you're so focused on the quality of this video isn't good enough or the concept, just kind of experiment and see what happens, because I think that's the biggest barrier to people creating content is they think it's not good enough or they think it's not to the point it needs to be because they see all this really highly produced edited content, and those are people who have been perfecting their craft for years. Even my content, people might look at it and be like, like I'm not as good as like Lexi's cosplays. And it's like, if you saw my cosplays from 5 years ago, you would chuckle along with me because my wigs are off my head and you got to start somewhere.
Start somewhere. That's exactly what I was about to say. We all start somewhere. Do you feel like at the beginning you were like so picky about everything?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say that's what, because I think that can hold people back. Like I've experienced that. Like
it does.
You experience that, like that being too picky in a world where people are telling you like make sure the quality of your like quality over quantity, but then also like there is a level of like quantity over quality. Like you don't have to be so hard on yourself about every little thing, because then you're never going to get the quantity, and you're because you're too focused on the quality, that sort of thing.
And genuinely my life hack is Twitter. Do you know how much I've grown in content creation since downloading that app and actually using it for networking? Please install Twitter.
One thing to take away from this video, everybody, is install Twitter. I don't call it X. Let's just like I
don't either.
I literally always call it Twitter, and then I think in my head, I think of the app whenever I say Twitter, and then how it's a big X, and I'm glad we all still know what we're talking about. Like, I'm glad.
Every time I say Twitter, nobody's like, "Do you mean X?" No one does that.
There's like maybe one or two people that do that, and I'm like, bruh. But you know what? It's okay. But I totally hear you. And then something I did want to ask, like that topic of social media is like, what are some of the key skills that you believe are important to like what you do in terms of like social media management? Maybe it's, I don't know, like it could be like knowing graphic design, or it could be knowing how to like manage your time, like things like that. Like, is there anything that you feel is really important to, or something that you can take away that's really important from your work?
Honestly, I think one of the biggest things is prioritization and time management, because there's gonna be a lot of things on your agenda that you're gonna want to get to, but sometimes you just don't have time for all of it, and you have to acknowledge that and then prioritize. That was one of the toughest things for me with my Elgato internship, because I have all these ideas and then I have my manager asking me to do things, maybe my mentor wants me to do something, and in that role, it's on me to be like, okay, I'm going to prioritize this first. Maybe this is a bigger project or something that needs to be higher quality. And then I'm going to kind of go down the list, because if you try to do it all, you're going to burn out, or you're just not going to create what you possibly could. It's not going to be to its full potential. And you just have to sometimes learn to take that, or honestly learn to say no sometimes. That's something I really struggled with, because I want to say yes to everything, but you kind of can't in social media management, because it's taking on too much. A lot of the times in social media, the teams are really small, and you don't realize that somebody running the Twitter is going to be running all the other socials, and it might only be 2, 3, 4, 5 people on the team. So there's just a lot. There's a lot to do. Aside from time management and prioritization, I would definitely say having that knowledge of almost being a content creator yourself has been invaluable to me, because I understand how to make videos. I understand how to edit. I understand how algorithms work, what time of day you should be posting, or like what days are the best. Having that knowledge just kind of in the back of your head from either creating content yourself or research helps a lot when you're managing socials for other companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are phenomenal ideas and important skills to have. I think especially what you said at the end about being like a content creator yourself. You've experienced it firsthand, and it's like that lends itself a lot. Like I think when people look at jobs and you know, the job market and what they can apply to, like they might not even realize, like if they're a content creator, that they can apply to a social media role if they want. Like they literally have
Yes.
like all of the experience right there of what it takes to run, like if they've done it for themselves, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's super important and something that, you have even said that like has helped with your, experience and what you do in social media. And then you also mentioned burnout. Have you ever felt burnt out from not
Yes.
okay.
So many times, because I mean, I'm a college student, I'm an intern, I'm a content creator, I'm a collegiate esports athlete. There's so many things, and sometimes, yeah, you get burnt out, man.
Yeah, how do you find yourself when your entire world sort of revolves around the internet sphere, like gaming, content creation? Like, how do you find yourself? What are things that you do to keep yourself grounded or to sort of refresh your mind and things like that?
Refresh my mind. Honestly, my therapist would tell me to, log off, take time away. But sometimes when you work online or your hobby is online, like esports gaming, it can be hard to fully disconnect. So
Yeah.
that's why I do enjoy games like Just Dance, because they're less online, less grindy. There's going to be less people in your lobbies being mad and typing. And it's kind of just
Yeah.
separating yourself from negativity and finding
Mhm.
ways to still do what you enjoy, but you don't have to completely disconnect. I think another way is using your resources and figuring out, like, if you are burnt out, if there is a lot on your plate, talk to, like, for me with Elgato, if I'm feeling burnt out, I know I can go to my manager and say, hey, I kind of need help with these projects. I feel like there's a lot on my plate. And she will help me delegate it to other team members or help me herself. Same with Northwood. If I'm feeling like there's a lot, I can talk to my professors, I can talk to my director, and the people around you will help you. You just have to know to ask for help when you're feeling burnt out. You have to recognize it.
Yeah, that's so important. Advocating for yourself and learning to advocate for yourself and being okay with like asking for help. Like a lot of people, sometimes the culture doesn't feel like you can do that, but you should be able to. You know what I'm saying? Like the culture
Yes.
that you're in, you should feel like you can do that. And so, it's great that you bring that up because advocating for yourself and learning to do that is difficult, but something that is going to be super important to, avoiding burnout. And like you said about Just Dance, like cozy gaming for me, like that's just like a single player like me on my Switch.
It's
like,
perfect.
it's perfect. And that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like even if it is still technically gaming and, in the world that I'm already in, like it's just something that isn't so overwhelming and in your face the same way like
Yeah.
Valorant or like R6 would be or things like that. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I totally hear you on that. And so to wrap things up, I wanted to do a little bit of a hot seat section. So these questions are gonna be kind of jarring. No, I'm kidding.
Let's go.
The first question
We're gonna
I have
start
for
fighting.
You, literally, that's what this podcast turns into. Do you believe that pineapple belongs on pizza?
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
Oh wait, do you agree?
so the thing is like I will eat it. It's just not my go-to like pizza. Like I have really
See, that's
nothing
valid.
against it. I have, you know what I'm saying? But like the time that I have tried it, like it's not been bad. Like I can eat some.
I can
warm
vibe with that
pineapple,
answer.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people do like pepperoni. Sometimes people do ham. I don't know if you have a preference.
I'm a ham enjoyer. I feel like it
Okay.
goes with the pineapple better.
Heard. I like ham too. I'm right there with you. See, that wasn't too crazy. We're not fighting yet. No, I'm kidding. If you were stuck on a deserted island and you can only bring 3 things, they can be anything. Like I would bring
Oh,
like
dear.
Diet Coke, like gum, maybe like an umbrella. Like I'm super simple
Oh
here.
no.
Or they could be practical. Like you could literally say like a water purifier, like whatever.
That's
3
valid.
things. 3 things.
3 things? Oh my god. This is gonna be bad, but like the only thing I'm thinking about is if I was on a completely deserted island, I would want to occupy myself. So I'm thinking books maybe.
Love.
I'm thinking like a sushi platter
Ooh.
so I can eat.
Yes. Yes,
You
eat
know, I
good,
don't know how
yes.
much longer I have, so I gotta go out good.
Love it.
Oh my goodness. And then I don't know. Yeah, maybe like raspberry lemonade Mountain Dew.
Oh, so specific.
I need it.
I love it.
It's delicious and I
Is
need
that
it.
like a drink of choice for you?
Yes, that is.
Love. I've never
If somebody
had it.
has that in their fridge, I'm like, first of all, niche. And then second of all, I love you.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try it now. That's another thing I'm like
It's
writing
good.
down. Okay, perfect. I know what I'm having for dinner tonight, and it's that and pineapple pizza. And then another question: if you could turn any game into an esport, what would it be and why?
Screw it. Let's make Just Dance an esport.
Okay, like literally, like quite literally.
Let's do it.
Like they used to have competitions. They used to have like competitions
I
that
know.
were live streamed on Twitch. There was like Just Dance
I would
Worlds,
eat
like,
that.
why? Okay, we have to have a conversation after this about
Ubisoft.
the
Ubisoft,
future
bring it back.
of Just Dance and esports. So phenomenal answer. Okay, are you allergic to fruit?
No.
Okay, so what fruit would you be and why?
What fruit would I be? I'd have to say a lemon.
Oh
I
my
can't
God,
say
yes,
any other
'cause
fruit.
I was gonna say like Lexi lemon. Like yes, perfect.
I have to be a lemon.
Okay, yeah. Do you have a reason why? I mean, is it just because of your username, or like, is it like the sound?
I mean,
like
my favorite color is yellow. I love lemon desserts. Like they're
Ooh.
delicious.
Love. Perfect.
Cute
Fine.
but bitter on the inside.
Oh, yes! No, you had it locked. I love it. And then favorite video game, and then favorite esport.
Ooh,
They could be the same thing,
That's a tech-
but they can also be.
I was gonna say that's technical because I 100% my favorite esport is Rainbow Six Siege. The community is amazing. Watching it's amazing. I think it's so fun. Favorite video game though? That's like, oh my goodness. I guess I would have to say Rainbow Six for that too, just because I'm so loyal to that game. I wouldn't say it's
Yeah.
the best game of all time, but like if we're
Yeah.
talking in terms of favorites, I have a lot of hours on that game. So
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I think it's important because I think, like technically people have games that they're like, this is like the most like beautifully designed game in the world, and I love it so much. But then also like
right.
their favorite game that they like love playing because it makes them happy. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I totally understand.
Yeah.
Very good answers. You killed this hot seat section. Before we even wrap up, like I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Where can
Thank you for
people-
having me.
Of course. Where can people find you on social media? Where are you?
Genuinely
about?
everywhere. My @ is consistent across all socials, just Lexi Lemonhead, all lowercase. I have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, genuinely everything. So
Gosh, you're like, and also the fact that your username is like consistent across, incredible. Incredible. Literally, whenever I have to do this, it's like I have to say like the million different like names and usernames I've had to like accumulate over time. But that's amazing. Thank you so much again for being here, Lexi. Y'all heard all her socials across the board. And I, thank you again for being here. This was such a lovely conversation. Follow Cope GG on YouTube and Twitter for more information about everything that we do, as well as all of our videos and more podcasts that are coming out. So thank you again, Lexi, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.